Are you married or in a committed relationship looking for real advice on having love and enriching your relationship? You are in the right place. Welcome to The Couples Expert with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hello, this is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert. I am very pleased to be here today to talk to all of you about a very important topic. But before I mention the topic, I want you to understand something. How I go about picking my topics. My topics are done with going on social media and looking for trending topics. The topic today is I'm not your mother, I'm your wife. The reason I picked that topic is there was an article that came out a while back, and there were 4,000 comments about this particular article. But just because there's all these comments out there, I don't always pick and choose those kinds of topics. What I also do is take a look in my practice and think about the things that are going on in my life and decide, with the help of the most supportive person I know, which is my wife, of whether or not I should pick a particular topic. So what I did is I shared with her this article, and I showed her what the title was. The title was exactly what I said: I'm not your mother, I'm your wife, or I'm your wife, I'm not your mother. And I turned to her and I said, this doesn't seem like a realistic thing, that it must be sort of a put on, and how many people really deal with that aspect of feeling like that? Does that relate to you and I at all? All I got at that point was laughter. She was rolling belly laughter. And then she began to tell me all the things that go on in our home that has her feeling more like my mother than my wife. Now, one of the things that she mentioned the fact that I leave dishes out and I don't put them away. The fact that I would take a dish from the table because it's my job, as what we have an agreement is that she does the cooking and I put away the dishes. That quite often I'll put away the dish by putting it on the sink or in the sink when the dishwasher is 3 inches away, and that she has to turn to me and say, could you please put the dishes in the dishwasher? So that she does feel at times that she's being more parental than wifely. And I think that's really the issue. And that's why I want to tackle this topic today, really talking about couples and relationships where one partner feels that what they're doing for the most part is nagging their partner as if their partner is an adolescent, rebellious child who's refusing to help out and do an equal amount of work in the home. And then what I usually get, if it's in my office, is that same relationship telling me that their sex life is not very good. And what I'm here to tell all of you, and one of the themes of this podcast, is going to be, if you want a relationship where both of you have an active sex life, have an active relationship where both people feel sexy with each other, don't ask your partner to be your mother or your father. So what we're going to talk about is the ramifications of that and ways that we can bring about a relationship that is about sexuality, sensuality, love, emotional connection, and least of all, a parental relationship. So, welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. You're in for a wild ride. Here we go. I'm not your mother, I'm your wife.
It's true. You don't have to give up on your relationship or settle for feeling lost or as if something is missing. You just need to know how to connect with your partner in a way that allows the two of you to feel loved and appreciated. But the problem is that many couples don't have the tools they need to navigate the ups and downs of a relationship without causing relationship injuries to one another. Yet they wonder what happened to the friendship that you used to share. How did it get from where it was in the beginning of the relationship to where you are now, feeling alone, disappointed, and hurt? And yet, you just can't seem to move forward to be happy again. Thankfully, this problem can be fixed, and that's where the 2 days and 7 conversation Hold Me Tight workshop comes in. Just 2 days, you will understand what you and your partner need to have a relationship where both of you are on the same page, working together to have that close relationship you only once dreamed of. Check it out at www.thecouplesexperts.com. Your relationship deserves the two of you feeling that closeness you once had.
One of the things we all have to keep in mind is that us men can really do things around the house, and that we're not as oblivious as sometimes we like to think we are. Men have invented amazing things that now scientifically can help the human race. And yet, we like to think that we don't know how to help our wives pick a dish up off the table and put in the dishwasher. Now, what's that about? I think we need to begin to recognize that we need to see the tasks that our wives are asking of us as foreplay. What I mean by that is, if you don't do the things that your wives ask of you, what is the cost of that? A lesson that I learned late, and it has taken me quite a number of years to really recognize, is that putting a glass away, taking a dish, and basically putting it where it belongs is one of the best, sexiest things that you can do for your wife. What this podcast also has helped me with is acknowledging and recognizing something. There continues to be an incredible gender gap between men and women. And the article points that out rather well, how women's perception of men really have some real negative connotations to them. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. As I'm preparing for this podcast, one of the things that came up is I'm struggling a bit in doing this recording, in trying to make it make sense and have it be something that is really informative as well as helpful for you guys, my listeners. So I was in one of these places where I was having a bit of a mental block. So I call my assistant and talk about it. And the first words out of her mouth were, "I knew you would have a problem. We've been talking about you and knew and figured you would not be able to do this easily because of what it says about men. We knew you would struggle." Let's think about that a minute. The perception that says is that, and my staff is all women, that their attitude about me and about men is that we're a bunch of babies that never want to take responsibility for themselves and do the things that are necessary to help out. That we have this expectation of the women in our lives to be these super moms, sexy, clean up, do everything, tell us how to lead our lives, help us get dressed because we're all tend to be colorblind and put on these bizarre outfits, clean up our dishes, and we're just going to sit there, burp and fart and watch football and expect them to do everything. And as I'm saying this, we need our wives to do everything for us. And one of the things, at least in my life, that has not allowed me to be as much of that as some is I was raised by a very strong woman, my mother, who basically told me from the time I was 3 years old that men have to be caring, considerate, helpful, and that if you want to be a good husband, you need to be a partner. And many of us men absolutely act like children, and we're not, but we behave like them. And when you have a woman in your life that you want to be sexy and stimulating and want to make love to, and the motivation here, guys, is that we need to act like we are responsible adults that are a contributing partner to our wives. And that's why they get turned on by us. And yes, we could have a six-pack and we could make a lot of money. And all of those things may be part of the turn on, but there's nothing that turns a woman on more than a man who's right by her side, helping out with the kids, with working all the different jobs that our women have. And why one of the sexiest things that you can offer your wives and girlfriends is when something's going on, you just handle it. You turn to them and say, you don't have to do anything. I got this. Probably one of the best examples from a lot of clients that I see has to do with family vacations. There are so many couples that I see in my office that come in so triggered by a vacation that is supposed to be a blast, going to Bermuda, going on a cruise, where the guy basically turns to the wife and says, we're going on vacation, could you make these calls? Now, what would it be like if instead of that kind of scenario, the guy in the relationship put the itinerary together, set up the babysitting, checks with the kids' schools exactly when their vacation is, put together a book that has all the hotels all put together. This is where we're staying this day. These are some of the activities that you've made the calls and not looking to your wives to do it all. And at the same time, keep the house clean. At the same time, go to the PTA meetings and deal with the teachers. And at the same time, work her job and not come home complaining or tired. Or when it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night and you want to make love, they don't turn to you and say they're tired. I ask you, when your wives are complaining and are not available for sex because they're tired, how many of you say to yourself, well, I think what I'll do is come home early, cancel a meeting here or there, vacuum the floors, and make sure that the house is picked up so that when my wife walks in the door, I can hand her a glass of wine and an hors d'oeuvre and say, sit down, I'm doing everything for you tonight. One of the things I would bet is that lovemaking is part of your evening and that she won't be as tired as she was the night before. Wives don't want to be our mothers. They want to be our confidant. They want to be our partner. They want to be someone that we take care of and care about what they need and their happiness. Now, the first part of this podcast so far is when the wives are saying they have to be motherly to their husbands. But I also have a set group of clients where the flip side is true, where the men are doing all the work, where the men come home and are cooking and cleaning and trying to keep
their business going. And the wives are sitting around saying, I'm just so tired, and all they do is complain. Some of these same issues occur. What I want to say to both you men and women out there is that the reason to pick up after yourselves, the reason that I believe what makes a relationship much more exciting are two people that have a partnership that your day looks something like this. One wakes up and decides to let the other sleep in, and you bring into the room a cup of coffee and say, hi, hope you had a great night. Here's some coffee. Take your time. I got it covered with the kids. And you sit down with the kids and you make them breakfast. And then your wife comes in, rested, seeing that not only have you made them breakfast, but you made lunch for the kids, or you've made sure that there's money on the account, and you've put together a sandwich and a snack for your wife to take to work. And you don't complain about how hard it is. And then the wife comes in and gives you a kiss and says, thanks. I always knew that I married Prince Charming. And you turn to your wife and you said, you know what? That's because I married my fantasy girl. And every day of the world that we're together is one day of glory because you're in it. And the two of you send each other texts like that. And then your wife turns to you and say, what could I do to make your day better? And you say, nothing, I got it covered. And I'm excited about the vacation that we're planning over spring break. And your wife turns to you and says, me too. And why I'm loving this is because it's what I've lived for, is us growing together, seeing the kids get older, and knowing that we too love each other so much that we can have these experiences and make these memories together that include both of us giving and taking of each other. And these kinds of conversations, the way that I just laid this out, are absolutely realistic, guys. You can have that. No one wants to be a nag. I guarantee you, your wife doesn't wake up in the morning going, gosh, let me see what I can do to really drive him crazy and nag him to death and pile things on him. Because in her head, what she's thinking about is the comments that you made to her early on in the relationship, where you said, if there's anything that ever I can do for you, I want to know about it. And that the last thing that I want is for you to keep things to yourself and to just be unhappy. I want to be the catalyst of your happiness in the world. And then when your wife turns to you and say, do me a favor, can you help me with the dishes? You say, in a minute after I finish this show, after I finish my post on Facebook, after I finish this, after I finish that. That's not being available to your partner. That's not being the partner that you committed to your wife to be. And wives, that's not being the partner to your husband that you committed to be. Those of us that are so focused on electronics and social media and all the distractions that the world brings us that makes it more important than your relationship, shame on you. Shame on you for allowing other things other than the two of you and how you feel about each other be more important than your relationship. Here's a quote that I heard recently, I saw in this article. When you choose to love someone, it becomes your pleasure, your desire to do things that enhance their lives and bring you closer together rather than it being a chore. Don't let helping your wife be a chore. Don't let the tasks that both of you do to make the kids and your life better describe it as a chore and hard work. It should be something that you're excited to do, because the smile on your partner's face is enough. Because the two of you have made a commitment to build a life together that includes the tasks around the house, that includes childcare, that includes spending money on things just to make each other happy, that has you thinking about your partner and never saying something that's going to have them feel put down or criticized. That we devote our lives to making the relationship the most important thing in the world. My mother raised me to be a self-sufficient, reliable man. And every one of you, I am sure, had parents whose goal for you were you were going to be a wonderful partner for your spouse. And I want you all to do yourself a favor. Stand back and ask yourself, if your wife was your little sister, would you be excited that they were married to you? If the answer is no, change. Begin today, not tomorrow, not the next day. Begin today to be a different partner to your wives and husbands. Be the partner that you're proud to demonstrate to the world that they are with you, and the things that they do and the things that you do are to help each other make the world feel like you're the luckiest person alive, because you have an equal partner who treats you with respect and kindness and is giving and loving in every way imaginable, including being excited when you clean out the toilet. Not because you're excited about cleaning poop off the toilet bowl, because you're excited that the two of you are sharing your life and making the home look and feel great. That when you see your wife gardening, it puts a smile on your face because you know they're doing it for you. And when you come home after a 12-hour day of, in my situation, of seeing client after client after client, which I'm passionate about doing, but it is exhausting at times. I come in smiling because I know what I just did is put a day's work in, both for my clients and for my family, to help us have a nice life where the most important thing is my wife's happiness and feeling that I'm contributing, and both of us do that every single day, which makes both of us feel so loved, and has my wife recognizing, even though she was laughing early on in the podcast when I asked, and I don't always do this, but my motivation is to always be a partner that my wife doesn't feel like she's my mother. And how I do that is telling her every single day the small things she does, how meaningful they are, and that when she goes to church on Sunday morning and I'm at home watching Meet the Press, I put a load of laundry in. Or if she woke up early and did the laundry, and she has a tendency of what she does is she hangs it up outside to make it smell good, could use the dryer. She doesn't do it because it's one way she gives to us to have really nice, fresh smelling clothes. I bring the clothes in and I fold them and I put my clothes away and I put hers away. I don't wait for her to do it, because these kinds of tasks is why, as a couple, you have an active sex life with lots of affection, lots of togetherness, and the rough times aren't so rough because each of you see each other as a partner. That is what we want out of our relationships. So I encourage you all to turn to your partners and ask, does it feel to you that you have to parent me? And if they hem and haw or don't answer, tell them you want to really know. Ask honestly, vulnerably, kindly, gently, soft-spoken, not harshly. Ask as if you really want the answer. And if the answer is something you don't like hearing, don't get defensive. Don't get mad. Turn to them, look them square in the eye and say, it changes today. What can I do to help you? And come in after your work day, before you sit down and just take it easy and relax. Because if you have a wife, either a stay-at-home mom or someone that works, they're exhausted already. If it's a stay-at-home mom, they're definitely exhausted already. Because I can tell you right now, I'd never trade jobs and say, what can I do to help you? I'm here at your beck and call. I guarantee your relationship changes rather quickly. So do that. Ask for the honest feedback as I did with my wife. And as a result of that dialogue, as I sit here doing this podcast today, and my wife at work, because on Wednesdays I do these podcasts, I do some of my Stuart's videos, so I'm home. I stop at least a half hour early, clean the place up, wipe the counters down, make sure the dog's fed. When my wife comes in the door, I tell her, I hope you see what I did today. That's not gloating, that's not bragging, that's not patting myself on the back. I want you to know I did this because I love you and that I know how hard you work. Then when you have a date night, the date night becomes a whole lot of fun. So, thank you for paying attention. Thank you for listening. Thank you for thinking about not wanting any woman out there to think of themselves more like your mother than your wife. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye now, and as always, stay connected.
Thank you for listening. This episode has ended, but your journey continues. Head over to www.thecouplesexperts.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive to podcast listeners. Enjoyed this episode? Why not hit subscribe now and never miss an episode?